the PlantFit Summit, bringing you the best in plant-based health and fitness. This is Luke and Toby, and today we have Nimai Delgado. Nimai is a natural professional vegan bodybuilder and an online fitness and nutrition coach. He was raised from birth on a vegetarian diet and has never consumed any meat or fish. Today, we chat with Nimai about his rise to fame as a pro-vegan bodybuilder. From nutrition to mindset, Nimai also gives insights into how to become a shining example of what you believe in. We start the conversation with Nimai sharing about his childhood being raised as a vegetarian. Enjoy the presentation.
I was raised vegetarian since birth. I have a little bit of a different upbringing than most people that I've come across. I was blessed enough to have been raised by vegetarian parents who, at a very young age, they raised me and my brother and sister with the concept and the understanding that we didn't need to consume animals. It just wasn't a part of our diet, it wasn't a part of our lifestyle. And I always made that connection from like a very young age. So I grew up in Mississippi, and I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with the states in general and kind of the different regions of the United States. And the southern part of the United States is very focused on like hunting, fishing, very outdoorsy, barbecuing, and even a little bit more closed-minded when it comes to anything outside of the normal realm of what they're used to. So I grew up in a community, like a Hindu community. Basically, it was a Hindu community in the middle of nowhere in Mississippi. We had a cow sanctuary. It was like a rescue where we had our own milk. We had our own garden. It was self-sustaining. They had a temple. It was just nothing but people who were Hindu. And I was raised there until I was 5. It was a great place for me to grow up. I mean, I wouldn't trade my upbringing for anything because it taught me so much about life, and it kind of made me aware and conscious at such a young age. But so afterwards we moved out, and I started to be assimilated more into the normal lifestyle, going to school with other kids in the public system. And it never really fazed me. I never was tempted to eat meat. It was just one of those things where I was very comfortable with who I was from a young age, and the peer pressure of, kids kind of teasing me or saying, hey, you want a piece of bacon? What do you think of this hamburger? For me, it was just like, no, I'm okay. Like I don't need it. I'm good with my little sandwich here. But yeah, and that actually it was tough, because being young and you always want to fit in. Everybody wants to fit in. And so deep down, I always knew I was a little bit different. So I was kind of like putting on a front that I would downplay who I was, because I didn't like talking about being vegetarian and not eating meat, because, I'd go to barbecues and I didn't want to I didn't want to stand out. I just wanted to fit in. So we'd go to barbecues or something, or birthday parties or whatever. And, I'd make my own food. I wouldn't have any meat, and then the question would always come up, why don't you eat meat? And I'd have to go into this deep explanation and everything. So I kind of hid it from the world growing up. My good friends knew it, but it wasn't until I graduated college and moved to California that I kind of accepted who I was even more and started to kind of own my background. And the more I kind of owned myself, I became proud. And somewhere along the lines, most people have a definitive moment whenever they decide, I'm going to give up meat and fish and dairy and everything else. For me, I was already 98% there, because the only real animal products that I ate were cheese, yogurt. It was mainly just dairy products. I didn't eat anything else. Whey protein, that was another one for me. But yeah, I just kind of opened my eyes and realized that I didn't need it. And I noticed the difference that I was feeling whenever I would consume those things. I'd feel real heavy. My stomach would get gassy. I'd have all these digestive kind of issues. So one day I just decided, you know what, I'm just going to try it. I'm just going to see if I can go a day without it. And that day was very easy for me. It wasn't much of a change. And then that day turned into a week turned into a month. And I never looked back. I never looked back. And immediately, whenever I cut that out, I started to feel the health benefits. I started to feel the differences in my body, especially digestive wise, energy wise. Everything just kind of flourished, and I just became more mentally alert. And I just, it was such an easy decision for me once I started to, reap the benefits of a plant-based diet. So, but that was about almost 3 years ago. So that I decided to make that change, and right at the same time, I also started like bodybuilding because I was always into fitness, and I was always kind of an athletic person, but I had just moved across the country. I didn't have many friends, so I started focusing a little bit more about myself. I started going to the gym. I figured I'd make friends in the gym. And somewhere along the lines, I just took it a little bit more serious and started researching a little bit more. And yeah, here we are, almost 3 years later. I'm a professional bodybuilder. IFBB pro, one of the only vegan IFBB pros, and helping change the perception of what's possible. So that was a little bit more than you guys probably asked for,
Oh,
but
that's brilliant. Yeah.
okay.
Nice, and I love the backstory where you said, that you grew up in a sense and you were being ridiculed as a kid, but somewhere you had that self-confidence and self-belief, right? Where does that stem from, or if someone hasn't been brought up that way, how could they develop that?
It's something that you have to practice it almost. It's a you have to search your soul and figure out who you are and what your morals are and what your belief system, kind of what your standards are, right? Standards are something that you don't sacrifice no matter what the circumstance is. And for me, it I was never really worried about following the crowd. I just kind of always went my own way with everything that I did, and I was comfortable with it. Anytime somebody would say something, cruel or ridicule me, I would just be like, nah, whatever. I'm just going to keep doing what I do. And I think that in that manner, I've been able to help other people because, I can't tell you how many times people told me the things that I'm doing would be impossible. They told me I would never become a professional bodybuilder. I would never be able to do it naturally. I would never be able to do it without eating meat. I would never be able to do it without drinking whey protein, eating fish, eating 10 pounds of chicken a day. You know what I mean? All these things that people just say are impossible. It's just because they don't believe they could do it. So for me, I've always been someone to believe in myself 100%, that if I put my mind to something, I'm going to do it. And I'm going to do it my way, regardless of what anybody tells me. So if you have that mindset, then you don't worry about what anybody else says because you're so comfortable with who you are, and you have this, this burning belief that you can accomplish anything. And if you have that, you really can do anything. I feel like there's people out there that are living their dreams based off of their own, diehard belief in themselves. And so many people get discouraged by fear and just peer pressure that they don't follow their dreams because somebody else tells them it's impossible. But you define your reality, and you define what's possible and what's not for yourself. So I believe that I have no limits. So I plan to test those limits in everything that I do. So yeah, if somebody were to ask me, I would say definitely just believe in yourself and believe in who you are. Find out who you are, and then go from there.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, in a short space of time, 3 years to turn pro and looking the way you do is absolutely phenomenal. So kudos to you. I'd love to find out what really drives you to compete each and every season.
So initially, it was more of a personal challenge.